You're watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. The differences between Russia and NATO over Ukraine will be difficult to bridge. The head of the Atlantic Alliance, Jens Stoltenberg, has said on Wednesday, after 4 hours of talks where Moscow pressed its demands for security guarantees from the West.
NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg says that there are significant differences between NATO allies and Russia, and that these differences will not be easy to bridge, but is still a positive sign that all NATO allies and Russia sat down together to engage on substantive topics. Russia has forced the West to come to the negotiating table by massing some 100,000 troops near the border with Ukraine, a former Soviet republic that aspires to join NATO.
Russia raised the proposals that they published in December, aimed at addressing their security concerns. These include demands to stop admitting any new members to NATO and to withdraw forces from Eastern allies. Allies on their side reaffirmed NATO's open door policy and the right for each nation to choose its own security arrangements. Allies made clear that they will not renounce their ability to protect and defend each other, including with presence of troops in the eastern part of the alliance. On membership and on NATO's open door, all allies are united on the core principle that each and every nation has the right to choose its own path. This is enshrined in a lot of fundamental documents, many different documents, which are the foundation for European security. And therefore also allies totally agree that it is only Ukraine and 30 allies that can decide when Ukraine is ready to become a NATO member. No one else has anything to say, and of course Russia doesn't have a veto on whether Ukraine can become a NATO member. So Russia has military forces in Georgia, in Ukraine, in Crimea, and also in Moldova. And these forces are there without the consent of the governments of these countries. They are uninvited and not welcomed. And NATO allies, also in the meeting today, called on Russia to withdraw those forces and to respect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Georgia, of Ukraine, of Moldova. NATO is a defensive alliance. We have never forced or coerced any nation into our alliance. So this idea that, for instance, NATO enlargement is aggressive, absolutely not true. And this is deterrence, this is defensive, and the purpose is to preserve peace. It's not to provoke conflict, but to preserve peace, prevent conflict. And in this way, and of course we will, and if Russia once again uses force against Ukraine and further invades Ukraine, then we have to seriously look into the need to further increase our presence in the eastern part of the alliance.
Russia denies planning to invade but says it needs a series of guarantees to its own security, including a halt to any further NATO expansion and a withdrawal of alliance forces from Central and Eastern Europe nations that joined the alliance after the Cold War. The NATO head has said any use of Russian force against Ukraine would be a serious political mistake for which Russia would pay a high price. He has reiterated NATO's position that only Ukraine and NATO can decide whether the country becomes a member. However, Stoltenberg said NATO was ready for further talks with Moscow on issues including arms control and missile deployments. Russia has asked for more time to come back with an answer on this matter. Stoltenberg's remarks made clear that there had been no breakthrough at the talks 2 days after Russian and U.S. diplomats met in Geneva and reported to narrowing of their differences.